Okay, so now I'm gonna continue with my pregnancy journey chronicles for pregnancy 5. Thank you guys for being patient with me. If these videos are too long, please do not feel bad about 2 times the speed. I always have captions anyway. But where I left off was that my daughter's death certificate was incorrect. There was like my information was correct. They had some other man there as her father, some other address, some other baby's information, and some other baby's weight, and they said she was a boy. And I went back inside because I hadn't left the parking lot in the funeral home, and I'm like, listen, this stuff is incorrect. I gave you guys the correct information. And then they looked at the information I gave them, and they looked at the death certificate, and they were like, we sent this to the hospital. They're the not the hospital, but the doctor who did your C-section. We sent it to her people, and they were supposed to put this information in the death certificate, and then once they sent it to us, we submit it. And so I called the clinic and left a message for the doctor's nurse, and I was like, listen, you guys put the wrong information for my daughter's death certificate. You put this, and that's not her information. Not to mention that now I have someone else's information on my death certificate that's none of my business. That's probably a HIPAA violation, and I'm not even sure if they have my information on their child's death certificate, and that's none of their business, and that's a HIPAA thing. And not only that, but if that happened to them as well, they're probably just as pissed as I am. So that nurse had no empathy, no sympathy. She called me and she's like, oh, we had another baby that passed away the same day, and so the information got mixed up. We'll fix it. They do it again. They send it. Now this time, the information is still incorrect when I get my death certificate a second time, which I had to wait so many weeks for. And this is after my daughter has already been cremated, after we have her in her urn, we have her at home. I'm still slowly healing physically and emotionally. Talking to certain members of my family every day, crying every day. And now I'm having to deal with this, going to the funeral home back and forth to get the death certificate. And this funeral home was not close to my house. It was like maybe 45 minutes away. It felt like. And every time I went there and it was wrong, it's like another stab in the freaking heart. And then to top it off, because the information was already incorrect in the death certificate, they don't make a new death certificate. What they do is they put the corrected information in the bottom. So you still see all this wrong shit on the death certificate, and then the correct stuff at the bottom. They don't do a new death certificate. They don't put... So now I have her death certificate with someone else's information on it, and then her correct information at the bottom. And mind you, I can't get a birth certificate, which is not a real one, because they don't give you a birth certificate if your child is stillborn, because to them that means that they were born not alive. And I wanted a birth certificate, so thankfully they do one for the parents. Obviously you have to pay for it if that's something you want, but it's not legal. So I needed the death certificate to be able to get that. And I go back 3 times. I had to go back to the funeral home to do this. And I'm waiting the 3rd time. And I call the funeral home, and the owner of the funeral home finally answered. And he's like, listen, because usually I talk to his managers and stuff. He's like, listen, we're going to take care of this. We're going to pay for it. We're not going to have you pay for it. And we will bill the hospital. They're going to pay us back, because I don't like this is happening to you. This isn't right. This isn't fair. They're going to fix it. So he kept at his word. They paid for it. I didn't have to do it. They had the clinic, the doctors, people fix it. And then they sent it. Finally, I got the certificate. Still wrong information on top, but the bottom was finally correct. So I was able to send it in, and I explained in a letter that they screwed up on the death certificate, but the correct information's at the bottom. And finally, I swear it took 6 months or more to get my daughter's death certificate corrected, and then finally get a birth certificate for me, for my sanity. And we celebrate her birthday every year. We have a picture of her on our wall of all of our children. And I've had like so many times where I've heard someone go, "Mommy," and I turn around and nobody's there. And I don't know if it's like in my head or if it's like her. And there was a time that I was in the bathroom upstairs, and I happened to, from the corner of my eye, see a little girl there, and I thought it was my son, but of course it looked like a girl. I turn around and she's gone, and I'm like, was that my son? He was sleeping. All of my kids were sleeping. And then there are times I'm sleeping and I hear "Mom," and I jump out of my sleep. I'm thinking my kids are having a nightmare. I go check on them, they're knocked out. So I thought I was going crazy for a while, y'all. But I am taking it as her communicating with me. And you know, when people ask me, "How many kids do you have?" I want to say 5, but I don't feel like going into an explanation. So I always say 4, but I don't want her to think that she's forgotten. But I'm like, she's in heaven. She's watching over me. She knows she's not forgotten. And the thing is, now she's with her siblings that I miscarried. That's what keeps me, you know, sane and happy. She's with my uncles that have passed. She's with my, you know, grandfathers. I had no relationship with them, but that have passed. She's with my yaya that passed in February. And she's with my aunt. That was the one that my yaya had said, "Hey, your aunt is up there taking care of her." So now my yaya is with her, and that gives me even more peace. And so that is the story of my 5th pregnancy, and we celebrate her every year. And this video is 8 minutes, and I'm sorry. I told y'all I'm long-winded sometimes. I still am angry at that doctor. That was my doctor during my pregnancy. I'm still angry with, even though the doctor who did the C-section was so sweet, and she was the daughter of the doctor who did my first C-section with my emergency C-section with my first child, and she was so sweet, I'm pretty sure she didn't pay attention to the details on the death certificate when she signed it. And her people that fill it out are the ones that screwed up. And I'm so angry that this state can't redo the death certificate to put her correct information, so I don't have to keep seeing someone else's information on my daughter's death certificate. I'm thankful to the counselor at the hospital. It is so difficult for a parent to talk about their child's funeral arrangements. And I'm thankful to Any Baby Can. I'm going to say that company because they're the ones who helped pay for half of my daughter's cremation. They gave us necklaces, and then to top it off, they had a ceremony for her where they had her name, and they had butterflies. They let them go in the air. And so they did that for all the mamas who lost babies that year and who they helped. And so they even gave me the thing they wrote her name on, so I have it. And they left butterflies in the air for her. So I'm grateful to them for that. And I hope that this story has helped somebody. I'm not trying to scare mamas or daddies. And I will go on to my next pregnancy. I know there's another one, right? And I thank you guys for listening. It's freaking 10 minutes. I'm sorry.